Welcome back to the USA Dog Behavior Podcast. I'm Scott Sheaffer, a certified dog behavior consultant and behaviorist, specializing in all types of canine behavior issues. Today, we're talking about something that comes up a lot when people have dogs with aggression issues: board and train programs. The idea sounds amazing. You send your dog away for a few weeks, they get trained by a pro, and they come home fixed. And I have fixed in quotes. But when it comes to aggression cases, the reality is it's just not that simple. And in some cases, it can actually make things worse. Let's talk about suppressing symptoms versus fixing the cause. Aggression isn't usually the core problem. I know that sounds kind of odd. It's actually a symptom. I preach this a lot with my private clients. In most cases, aggression is rooted in fear. That's the root cause. Insecurity or past experiences. When a board and train trainer punishes growling, barking, or lunging, the symptoms, they might stop the behavior in the short term, but the fear that caused it, well, it's still there. Probably actually worse. Now your dog is thinking, wow, I'm scared, but I'd better not show it. And that's risky because you've removed the early warning signs, but not the emotion behind them. Think of it like this. This is a great analogy. The growl or bark is the steam vent on a pressure cooker. It lets out the fear in a safer way. Punishment closes that vent, but the pressure inside keeps building. And when it blows, it can be much more dangerous and unpredictable. The technical term for this is masking. Just want to reference that many, if not most, board and train programs that treat aggression use punishment, and it causes masking behavior. The dog appears to be better, but is actually worse, and then usually exhibits aggressive behaviors in a much more enhanced way or an increased way later. Let me compare masking versus real change with you. One of the most deceptive parts of some board and train programs is how good the dog looks at pickup. I hear this all the time. Calm, obedient, ignoring other dogs and people, at least in that controlled training facility. But if you haven't changed the emotional state of the dog, that calm is often a freeze response, not relaxation, a masking response, where underneath, the dog is actually getting more stressed and fearful and will definitely, in most cases, act out later in worse ways. Then, of course, you bring the dog home, back to their real triggers, their real environment, and the things that are triggering them, dogs, humans, etc., and suddenly that aggression is back because nothing underneath has really changed. When you send your dog away for a few weeks, it introduces stress from being away from home. That's another issue I want to talk about. When you send your dog away, you actually introduce another stressor, and that's being away from home. Most dogs that I know don't enjoy being away from their owners. It's stressful, like sending your kid to summer camp. Not all kids love it, especially dogs that already have a behavior issue. And remember, most aggression cases involve dogs who are already anxious. As we said, being removed from their home, their people, their routine, that's stressful. Stress hormones spike, and learning becomes harder as a result. In some cases, that added stress can make the original problem worse, which is what we're saying here. Who's the most important player in treating your dog's aggression? I know you know the answer to this. You are. In aggression work, the handler is half the equation, and your dog is the other half. 50-50. I really preach this with my private clients. You are 50% of the cure, the remedy, and your dog is the other half. The trust your dog needs, the skills you learn to manage and help them, the ability to read their signals, these things can't be outsourced. If you're not part of the process, the results don't transfer well when your dog comes home, if at all. But what's happening behind closed doors at these board and train facilities? Not all facilities are upfront about their methods, and without transparency, you can't know whether the training is humane or if aversive tools are being used in ways you wouldn't agree with. I'm telling you, I get so many clients that have sent their dogs to board and train facilities. They bring them home. A month to 2 months later, the behavior is much, much worse. And they come in to see me. And when I talk to them, I almost 100% of the time hear this story. I ask them, were they using shock collars, which is very popular with these board and train facilities? And they always say, yes, but they only use the buzzer. They only use the buzzer. I wish I had $1 every time I've heard that. The buzzer doesn't work unless you train the dog to respond in a way that it does when it's being shocked. In other words, they have to condition the dog to shocks first, and then the buzzer works in place of the shocks. Unfortunately, in that process, the buzzer is actually still stress-inducing to the dog, even without the shock. And there's a lot of psychology involved in why that is. It's called conditioning. So what works better for your dog? Well, here's some recommendations I have. Train where your dog feels the safest, because dogs that have aggression issues are almost always very nervous dogs, especially in front of their triggers. Train them at home where they feel the safest. Next, work on changing the dog's emotions, not just their behaviors like barking and growling. Remember, those are just symptoms. The root cause is the fear. Desensitization and counterconditioning can help your dog feel differently about triggers. And these are the essential techniques that you want to use. All good techniques are based on those fundamentals: desensitization and counterconditioning. Thirdly, stay actively involved. I want you to stay involved. You are the person your dog needs to work through their fears. And finally, vet the trainers carefully. Ask a lot of questions about their methods and experience levels before you sign up for any program, including ones at home, where a personal dog behavior consultant or behaviorist comes to your home. And I recommend the latter, of course. Have someone come to your home and work with you. Let's wrap things up. Board and trains can be great for certain skills like teaching recall, polishing manners. But when it comes to aggression, the stakes are higher. You can't just cover up fear and expect lasting results. The most reliable path is slower, more personal, and focused on building confidence and trust, one step at a time, with you right there beside your dog. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy quick insights into dogs' behavior, don't forget to subscribe for more bite-sized episodes and leave a review if you find these episodes helpful. You can find us at usadogbehavior.com or follow us on Facebook by searching for USA Dog Behavior. See you next time. Now go love your dog.